Hey everyone, it's Kabir here. So today we are going to understand about the storages. Now you know that there is a something called storage which is present in your browser. So in the storage you can store some kind of data. Now there are two types of storages. The first is called local storage and next one is called session storage, right? Now as we are saying it is a storage, so we are going to store some kind of data. Then why do we require to store the data, right? Now sometimes what happens, your data is present in your database, right? Now if you wanted to display that particular data which is in the database in your page or application, you have to send a request to the server, and from there you have to fetch that data and you have to display. Fine. Now just consider you have application and you have the two tabs, right? Now first tab is going to display some kind of data and second tab is going to display second kind of data. Now, whenever you click on the first tab, right, now it is going to send a request to the server, fetch the data, what is required to store in that particular tab, and it is going to take that data. That data is coming to your client and it is displaying. Done. Now, whenever you are going to click on second tab, right, now again, your data present in your particular database. Again, you have to send a request, then again, it will fetch the data that it required and it will come back to the client, I mean your application, and it will display the data. Now what happens here, two times you are sending a request. Now whenever you are sending a request to a server, it is little time taking process. So due to this, your performance of application might be little affected. Now you wanted to increase the performance of your application. Now what you will be doing, now, whenever your application is going to load, right, whenever it is going to start, you are sending a request to a database. From there, you are bringing complete data. huh? That data you are storing in the browser storage. Now, what are the browser storages? That is nothing but your local storage and your session storage. Now, next time you are clicking on one of the tab, now you require a data. Now, instead of sending the request again to the server, you will fetch that particular data from the browser and you will display. Now, taking the data from browser and taking the data from database has a lot of differences. Taking the data from browser is very fast. Whereas taking the data from server, it's little consuming time, right? So that's the reason whenever we require some data in our application in future use based on the user action, instead of sending multiple requests to the server, we will keep all the data in our local storage or a session storage, and we are going to fetch the data from that particular storages. Now, due to this, your application performance is going to be very fast. That's the benefit of the storage. Now, here in this session, we are going to understand how can we store the data in the session storage or local storage, how can we fetch all that kind of things, right? Now, that's the point. Now, let us consider I have created one HTML file like browser storage.html. Done, guys. Now, here I am creating a skeleton of a HTML. So, doc tab. Done. We created a HTML skeleton. Now, here I'm going to create a p paragraph. I mean p tag. So, it is going to display something like Kabir, right? And I'm taking one more p tag and it will be something like Sagi. Okay, fine, that's great. Now what I wanted to do, I wanted to create one button. So how can we create button? Simple button tag. So I have created click me to change the text. That's it, guys. Now what I have did, I have created HTML file. I took one p paragraph and one more p, and I have a button. Now let us see how it is going to look like on our browser. Now it is going to look like something like this. Now, what is my requirement? Whenever I'm going to click on this particular button, right, the text should have changed from Kabir Sagar or a Kabir Sagi to Sachin Tendulkar, something like that. Okay. So how we can do? So what I wanted to do, I wanted to store some data in that storage. Now, whenever I click on that button, now, whenever I click on that button, that data which I have stored in that particular storage should come and display here. So how we can see our local storage and session storage? Simple, just open your browser, right click, go to inspect. Here you are able to see an application tab. Click on this application tab. Now here it is called your local storage and session storage. This is session and this is local. Now, what is the exactly difference between local storage and session storage? First difference is storage capacity. Now, session storage is going to provide you almost 5 MB, right? It's very much, right, to store the data. And your local storage is going to provide around 10 MB. This is the first difference. Second difference, local storage data will not be deleted even though if you close this tab or you open other tab or you close your system, unless until you remove explicitly that data is not going to be removed from this local storage. But what about session storage? Now, once you have closed this tab, right, once you have closed this tab, whatever the data you have in that session, it will be deleted automatically. Means the data will be present on until that particular session. Now what do you mean by session? Session is nothing but, let us take one example. Now you are going to log in the Facebook, right? Now whenever you are enter your credential and you are going to click on login, right? Now you have opened your Facebook account and you did your whatever the stuff you wanted to do, you have used for 30 minutes, right? Now you have clicked on logout, means you came out from your application. So the time from login to the logout is called your session, right? In the same way, here session storage is nothing but you have opened this particular file in this particular tab, right? Now when I am going to close this tab, so opening the tab to closing the tab, whatever the duration I had, that duration is called session. So the data is going to maintain only in that particular duration. If I click on this cross mark and I close this tab, it means the session storage data is going to be deleted, whereas local storage data will not be deleted. As simple as it is, right? Now these two are the objects which is given by your browser. It is not the functions of your JavaScript. These are the APIs or functions which is being provided by your browsers. Okay, that's the one thing. Now just consider I wanted to store some data in the session storage. So what I'm going to do now, if you wanted to store some data in session storage, they have provided a method. The name of that method or a function is called set item, right? Now let us see. Now what I'm saying that session storage, this is provided by your browser. Now it is present in an object called window, right? Now if you wanted to use this particular session storage, for that you have to use an object called session storage, right? Now this is an object. If session storage is an object, it means it contains some properties. That properties might be a variables or it might be a functions, right? Now this property will have a one function called set item. So how can we access a property from an object? It's very simple. Object name means session storage dot a property name. So property name is set item. Remember guys, set item, S is small whereas your I is a capital. Now this is a function, so it is a function. Fine. Now I wanted to store a variable, a name of a person like name. So I wanted to store some data in the session storage. Now session storage is going to store the data in key value pair. Means you have to give a key for that particular data and value will be your exact data, right? So I wanted to give something like name. Yeah, it could be name. So it will take a string like name, right? This is the first argument which is going to take. It is a key, comma, you wanted to give some value, right? It will be the second argument. So I wanted to give something like Sachin. That's fine. We have stored session storage dot set item equals to Sachin. Enter. Now this particular data has been stored in the session storage. Now you wanted to see whether this data is present in your session storage or not. So how can you see? As simple as it is. You have to go to the application tab. Remember this is the application tab. And here you have to go to the session storage. In the storage section, go to session storage, click on it, click on this particular file. Now here you are able to see something like name Sachin. Now the data is present in your session storage. Now this particular data I wanted to display here when if I click on this particular button. So let us come to our file, right? Now whenever I'm going to click on this particular button, a event is going to be triggered. That is called on click. On click equals to, I'm going to call some function like function change text. The name of the function is function change state. Now, if I wanted to write a JavaScript code, then I have to use a tag called script. So I will be writing a script tag. Fine. Now here I wanted to call this function once I click on this button, right? So I will be writing function, the name of that function, function change text. That's great. Now, what the logic I wanted to write? First of all, I wanted to display a Sachin here, right? Now, if you wanted to display Sachin in this particular tag, first of all, I have to get the reference of that tag. So how can we get the reference? There are multiple ways. Now here I am going to provide a ID. So I will be saying ID equals to P1, right? Now, if I wanted to take this particular element reference in my JavaScript, we have a method called document dot get element by ID, and you have to give the ID name. That's a P1. Now it is going to return you the reference of that particular P tag. So let me catch that reference equals to PREF. Okay, now PREF contains this particular element. Now I wanted to perform some operations, right? I wanted to manipulate this particular data, right? So what I will be doing before that, I want the data which is present in session storage, right? How can we take the data from session storage? To insert a data in session storage, we know it is like session dot set item. Now, if you wanted to get the data from that particular storage, we have a one more method called get item. So session storage dot get item. Now this get item is also function. Now it is going to take one argument, and that argument, now this is going to take one argument, and that argument is nothing but the key of that value. What is the key? It is a name, right? So I'm going to say name. That's it. Enter. Now we got the Sachin. In the same way, I wanted to get this particular data in my application. So I'm coming here, and here I wanted to say simply session storage dot get item, right? It is like name. Now it is going to return value. So I will be saying value name equals to something, right? Now this name I wanted to attach to this reference. So how can we attach? Pref dot inner text equals to name. That's it, guys, right? In the same way, I wanted to attach Tendulkar near here, right? So I will be giving one ID for this P as well. So equals to P2, right? I wanted to take the reference of this P. So as simple as it is. So I'm going to take from here, and just here I will be saying it as a P reference 2, and this will be like a 2. So we got the reference of this particular element. Now if we got the element reference, we can do any operations on this particular element. Now I wanted to change this inner text, right? So but before that I have to get the data, but my data is not present in this particular storage. So I wanted to insert Tendulkar in that particular session storage. So session storage dot, we are storing, right? We are inserting the data. So set item, set capital ITEM. Now we have to give the values. I mean, we have to store the value in the key and value pair. So first of all, we have to give the key, right? So I am saying something like L name. It's nothing but last name, right? This will be in the form of string. L name. What will be the value? Value will be like Tendulkar, right? Close it, enter. right? Now if you wanted to get this particular like Tendulkar, you know how to get, right? Session storage dot get item. So let us see whether it has been stored or not. So for that we have to go to the application tab. See, the L name is nothing but Tendulkar. Now the present here, it is present here, right? Now let me come to our application, right? Now here let me take the value, right? So simply I'm going to say copy this particular thing, and here this time let me say it has L name, and this time this is also L name. Now we got the L name as well. Now what I'm going to do, simply I will be saying p ref 2 dot inner text equals to L name. That's it guys, right? Now come here, now just refresh it. Okay, now we have refreshed. It's like a Kabir Sagi. Now if I click on this particular thing, it's like Sachin Tendulkar. Now this Sachin and Tendulkar is coming from the session storage. Now what I have told, the session storage is present for this particular session and for this particular tab only. Now just let's consider I'm going to open this file in another tab. So I have opened here and this is here. So let me refresh it. It's like Kabir Sagi and here. Now if you right click and go to the inspect and go to your application, go to your session. Now here you are not able to see any kind of data, whereas you are able to see the data here because these both are different tabs and these both are different sessions. Okay, now if I click here, it's like Sachin Tendulkar. If I go to the next tab and if I click, the answer will be null because there is no data. The data is not present here. That's why we are not able to see. So this is the drawback of your session storage. Not a drawback, but it's like a depending upon your situation, right? Now sometimes you get a requirement where you have to maintain some kind of data only for that particular session. Now once someone closed that particular tab or something, you wanted to remove that data. In that particular scenario, session storage will be the best suitable storage, right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to store some data here, right? Now that data will be stored in local storage. So how can we store the data in local storage? Even local storage is the object which has some properties. Now even this particular properties are some numbers, some functions, right? Now if I wanted to store some data in local storage, I have a function called set item. The name of the function is same which was in the your session storage also. So if I wanted to store simple local storage dot set item, now it is also going to take two arguments. The first argument is nothing but your key. So this time let me say something like name, right? And the value will be something like Mahi. Okay, now enter. Now let's see whether this data is stored or not. Let's go to our application tab. Now in the storage section, this is our storage section. This time we have stored the data in the local storage. So just click on this local, click on this file. Now here you are going to see something like name Mahi. In the same way, I wanted to store one more. So I will be saying local storage. Now this time it will be like L name and it will be something like Dhoni. Okay guys, now let me enter. Now if you come to your application tab, you are going to see Mahi Dhoni. This data is present in your particular local storage, right? Now what I'm going to do, now whenever I'm going to click on this button, this time this data should come from local storage. So I have to go to the our function, right? Now here instead of session storage, I will be saying simply local storage. So local storage, and the local storage means this time we are retrieving the data from the local storage instead of session storage. Now we have saved it. Come here, just done. Come here, done. Right? Now refresh it. Now come here, refresh it. Right? Now let me say click on this. It's like Mahi Dhoni. Now let me come to another tab. Again, click on this Mahi Dhoni. It means the data is not removed, right? Now I'm opening one more tab. So let me say right click. Now this is a new tab, right? Again, I'm clicking here. Again, the Mahi Dhoni. It means your data is present in your local storage for this particular browser, for this particular URL, right? Now, if you change a URL, right? Now your data is going to be, I mean, it is not deleted, but you cannot access that data. The data will be present for this particular URL, this particular domain. That's it. Okay, guys. Now, this is the one thing what I wanted to say, and this is the difference between your session storage and local storage. Now one more scenario. Now I have opened this particular data in Edge, right, browser. Now I wanted to open the same application in Chrome. So let me come to our code. Now let me right click and open in other browser, open in the Chrome. Now I have opened in the Chrome. Now if I click on this button, what will happen? Now we are not able to see the data already present in local storage, but we are not able to get the data. Why? Because these storages are specific for that particular browsers. Means Edge will have their own storage, Chrome will have their own storage, Safari browser will have their own storage, Mozilla will have their own storage. Now if you are storing some data in Chrome storage, that data cannot be accessed in the Mozilla storage. That's the one thing you have to remember. The storage will be specific for that browser, for that particular URL is nothing but for particular domain. And in domain also, like you will have protocol, right? Now HTTP protocol, you will have HTTPS protocol, you have file protocol, right? Now here we are using the file protocol. The same thing if you open in like HTTPS colon local storage in browser storage.html, then it will not able to access that particular data. That's one more thing you guys have to remember, right? So this is all about your browser storage. Now this is how we are going to set the item, get the item, right? Now if you wanted to remove the item, right, if you wanted to remove any kind of items, now what we'll be doing, that simply just right click, come here. Now if you go to the application tab and if you go to the local storage, you are able to see. Now I wanted to remove this word called name, right? So what I will be doing, simply local storage dot remove item. Now you have the method called remove item. Now you can use remove item and it will take one argument, is nothing but the key. So the key will be name, right? Enter. Now the item has been removed. Now come to your application tab. Now you are not able to see the name. Now if you refresh it and if you click, you got only Dhoni because the first value is removed, so it is a null. That's it. So this is all about your browser storages. Session storage, local storage. Session storage have the data temporary. If you close the tab, data will be deleted. In local storage, data will not be deleted until unless you remove from the local storage. Now if you wanted to remove, for that you have a method called remove item. If you wanted to set, insert any item, you have the method called set item. You want to retrieve, get item. If you wanted to update, then again use set item, give the same key name. So if the key is already present in that particular storage, then it will update. If the key is not present, it will insert. We know the operations of objects, right? The same operations is going to be followed. Now this is all about your storages, and this is very, very important, guys. So what happens, sometimes your data is in your database, right? Now instead of sending multiple requests, you will just send one request and you fetch complete data from database, and that data you will keep in your storages. Now whenever a person or a client is going to tab on some other tab, some other tabs, right? Now if you want that particular data, now instead of again sending a request, he will just fetch the data from the storages. It might be a session or it might be a local. Now it totally depend upon your requirement and your scenarios. So you have to understand which scenario which storage will be suitable. So according to that you have to use. That's it. That's all guys. Thank you for watching the video.